if they are a company, they're not an academia project. They have to move faster. They have to work on initiatives that are strongly validated. LOIs were maybe sufficient 5 or 6 years ago, but today you need offtake agreements, signed contract. We're seeing concepts that are lighter or harder in CapEx, but there's an absolute mind shift change where teams that are obsessed about the coolness of their science are just not getting the chance. They are being run over by teams that are driven commercially, that see science as a tool. Hi, everyone. My name is Darko Mandich, and I'm a managing director at BEAM Circular Accelerator powered by gener8tor. And I'm also Ag Practice Chair at gener8tor. gener8tor exists for 15 years now, and we are one of the top 10 most active accelerators globally. And I'm personally on sustainability team and leading an accelerator program that backs early stage innovation that turn agricultural waste into value. We look at startups globally, but we look for the ones that are ready to scale in our California Central Valley ecosystem that we are building together in partnership with BEAM Circular, a nonprofit from Modesto, California. And I'm excited to talk to you today, Alex, and chat about everything ag tech, circular bioeconomy, as well as, how is it like to be on the both sides of the table, as I've been doing food tech and ag tech for the past 15 years in many multiple roles.
Well, first of all, Darko, you're a close friend, a soul friend. One of the things that I love about this industry is we grow together for many years during many different changes. And, when you and I met, you were doing a company that was mimicking or mimicking honey, and a successful company that eventually had an exit, and you moved into this now investor role. So just curious about the change from being a founder now to sitting on the other side of the aisle, and what you're seeing and learning about investment now that may be surprising.
I'm learning a lot, Alex. And you would think as a founder, you know a lot about how investors operate, early stage, late stage VCs, because you're part of that ecosystem. Only when you actually cross on the other side of the table, you realize how much of work happens on this side that maybe sometimes as a founder, maybe you're not just aware of. And I'm glad to be in this conversation and share. And for all of the people out there who have an opportunity sometimes to join your investment climate founder dinners, I strongly encourage people to do that, because for those of you who don't know, Alex chose the best dinners out there that are happening all across the world, from London to Singapore, San Francisco, New York, timed with amazing events like Agri-Tech, Future Food Tech Week, or things like that. Because I really enjoy those events, and I'm glad to be on this podcast and share more about my point of view. After MeliBio, I really wanted to stay engaged in the industry. However, I felt that for me, MeliBio was an idea that has been cooking for many years. The pain points that MeliBio is solving was something that I felt being an executive in ingredients companies dealing with bee products. So I felt that I can't force a new idea, but I really love all the people, communities, and ecosystems and relationships that I built. So I decided that I want to stay, but change the seat at the table and cross on the other side. And when this opportunity with gener8tor came across, I was really excited. And I promised that one thing that I'm going to do differently is that I'm going to be representing founders as a recent former founder on the other side of the table. We all used to joke when we were founders, and founders do joke, that investors sometimes don't understand how businesses are run, and many of them never ran a lemonade stand, if you will. So that is true, but being on this side of the table, being an investor requires a different skill set. However, my goal is really to be an investor that founders can talk to, that founders can have a conversation about almost anything that goes from filing that incorporation in state of Delaware, which I did myself for MeliBio, all the way to kind of selling the company and chatting about all the processes and everything that can go into these activities. So for me, that was that number one dedication, that crossing on the other side of the table. I appreciate it. I'll be doing different job. I'll be learning about that job. But what I will be taking to that table is empathy for founders and ability to have a conversation with them as an investor from a position of doing that myself, and hopefully gain a closer relationship, respect, and trust on the basis of walking that walk myself.
So take me then through that seat, right? So give me like a real life example. Maybe we can learn from that. So then you're gonna have a cohort that could be in applying for your next accelerator, right? Maybe you could tell us when that is. Tell us, like, if I'm a company that think about applying, right? How do I think I'm a good fit? And then what are you looking for as an investor now? What lens are you putting on the application that will make them consider going to the next stage?
After running almost 500 accelerators in over 50 communities, here at gener8tor, we really value and we're focused on initiatives that are called research to startups. We work with academia partners and we identify university teams that are ready to venture out and get out of academia and take that fantastic research into the world by creating amazing startups that are reshaping the industry. So one thing that I can offer there is really helping founders early on put themselves in the entrepreneurial mindset and respectfully and gracefully leave the research mindset at some point and think as entrepreneurs. I've led a fantastic scientific team at MeliBio together with my co-founder, Aaron Schaller, and we were really proud of taking things to market with less dollars, with almost no CapEx, and really installing this entrepreneurial mindset in a world-class scientific team with people coming from Stanford, Berkeley, Davis, Harvard, Yale. So that's number one thing that I can offer to these teams, to really, appreciate them for everything they've done on the research side, but help them build that bridge so that one day they would probably say that they are almost like a former scientist turned entrepreneur.
So other companies that are going to be applying for the accelerator typically, very early stage, looking to commercialize science from the lab, and they have maybe commercialized it. Like maybe they already took the IP out of the university, and now they're, just two founders that are now looking to get their first institutional check. Is that the type of founder that you're looking for?
We have many programs at gener8tor. Some are free accelerators that are called G-Beta, 7-week programs that are super, super early for teams that are maybe just having the idea or concept. But we also have investment accelerators, and I'm running one of those, where we are looking for a little bit more than just the two founders or a solo founder wanting to do something after their time at academia. We're looking for some of the initial proof points. We're looking for early customer traction. Those could be LOIs, conversations with customer, and some sort of a prototype or early proof that the science is working. Okay. So specifically for my programs, we are looking for folks that are ideally, let's say, they're ideally ending their year one of their work, and they are ready to accelerate that into what their year 2 or 3 of their work might look like.
Are they typically already have they raised money before, or typically this be their first check?
So a little bit of money raised before is a great proof point from us, and that can be angel checks, friends and family. Those can be SBIR opportunities and non-dilutive funding. We count all of that as an early proof point that founder is able to raise. If you look at our last cohort, which was the second cohort of the BEAM Circular Accelerator, all 5 companies that we got into the program previously raised some funding. We had 3 pre-seed companies, 1 seed company, and 1 pre-series A company. We only do small cohorts, concierge support, because we believe that large cohorts and canned content is not what founders need from Accelerator. Founders need the best partners, and we believe that happens through small cohorts.
Makes perfect sense. And then what is the typical check size? Like, when you make the investment, is that check size then converted into the accelerator? So you have to pay some of that money back into the housing, the plane, like just getting yourself there. And
that's not the case with gener8tor. We don't charge startups for our services. For our BEAM Circulars, last cohort, we had a 100K support broken into 3 categories, and all of that, it was non-dilutive capital that we put into companies. We have other programs within the sustainability team, such as the Clean Tech Accelerator, where food tech and ag tech accelerators can apply to. We run that program in Atlanta with Cox Enterprises. We have a 250K investment in that program on terms that are disclosed on the website. So we have various programs depending on geography, depending on the partners. Alex, what's really cool about gener8tor is that we understand that post-ZERP time, when the VCs are not the only players that we can count on supporting startups. We understand that partnering with government agencies, states, philanthropy, private sector, dilutive, non-dilutive capital is essentially the way how you build a diverse stack of portfolio, of a capital portfolio, and essentially help engage all the players in the market that help startups out. That's why gener8tor is very special.
Yeah. So we talked about this before, my friend, that the Central Valley in California is quite interesting. Well, there's quite a few incentives that try and put in place to attract solutions that can use maybe some of the upcycling ingredients that are happening in that region. So let's maybe understand first, what are the companies that are applying? You said to us, it's usually first year, maybe second year, they've had some success, some LOIs, some maybe traction. What else, when you're looking at those companies now through the investor hat, that maybe also is surprising for you now that you're an investor that you didn't understand as a founder?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Central Valley is an amazing place. The US food market is $2.5 trillion, and 1 in 4 food bites in the US actually originate from the agricultural produce that happens in the Central Valley. It's it's an amazing place to scale, and together with our main partner, BEAM Circular, we're building an ecosystem that is based on a couple of important things. First and foremost, California is a state where we have a lot of specialty crops. We have 80% of almonds that are globally produced, they are produced in California. After those harvests, we have a lot of almond byproducts, almond shells, almond hulls. You got to do something with it. And we are seeing amazing innovation in startups that use almond shells and hulls and turn that into materials, into fuels, energy, all of that. So I would say then one thing that I learned in this job is really how important of a launchpad California is when you think about how can you deploy science and technology on top of available and diverse feedstocks that used to be just waste and now are a starting point and inputs into an output that ends up producing products and services across different verticals that in the end strengthen the supply chain and the biomanufacturing systems that happen in the US. I would say, Alex, as someone who launched a company in 2020, that was when I launched MeliBio, what I'm seeing in 2026 that is really different is founders doing way more with significantly less availability of resources, specifically capital in the early stages. I remember when I raised almost $6 million seed round end of 2021 and 2022. I remember what were the metrics for that seed round compared to what I'm seeing founders now doing at pre-seed with maybe only a couple of grants and 2 angel investors that back them. So it's really, it has been hard out there for everyone, for VCs, for investors, for everybody in the agri-food tech. But the beauty of it is that what came out on the other side of this struggle in 2026, and I'll be seeing that in 2027, is founders doing way more with less and founders being commercially driven, not science driven. Founders are not using science as a solution looking for a problem. Founders are deploying science early on in conversation with market, with pilot customers, and they already have people and customers ready to grow when they are ready to grow into the next stages.
Yeah. So first of all, totally agree with you. I mean, I've been also in the industry, my gosh, more than 10 years now. And yeah, we've kind of seen the boom and we've seen the bust, right? And I actually think that we're heading into a very good time in our space. Very, very good time. I'm very optimistic. But to your point, now as an investor looking at companies that are going through accelerator, are you worried about them being able to raise money moving forward, or are you specifically looking at things that are not as deep science, for example, that require a lot of CapEx? That may, that your mindset as an investor has changed to what is viable from investing in technology? I speak with founders raising every day, and they're all telling me the same thing. It's harder than ever to find investors who are actually deploying. And getting access to those leads takes time founders just don't have. Every month fundraising is a month burning runway. This is why we created FTW Plus, a community of founders actively fundraising. The world's most accurate agri-food tech investor database, plus connecting you directly to ideal target investors and a community of support and accountability. Guaranteed results or your money back. Apply today at www.joinftw.com/hub.
CapEx is a very important barrier to entry. A lot of VCs burned a lot of money investing in startups that build CapEx, and we read these big headlines about certain startups, just not existing after, hundreds of millions of dollars invested. CapEx is a big barrier. And one of the ways how we're solving CapEx, our main partner, BEAM Circular, is building a California Bioeconomy Innovation Campus in Modesto. And that campus will go live. The first phase will go live towards the end of this year, the beginning of 2027. It's a huge investment where a lot of money, a couple of $100 million will be invested in facilities, in lab, pilot, manufacturing facilities. All of that will be invested so that startups don't have to do it by themselves, so that the VC capital doesn't have to go into CapEx. So we don't run away from CapEx. We're actually building the ecosystem that will remove that barrier so that people building in Central Valley, in San Joaquin Valley, which is the northern part of Central Valley, which is only like 1 hour and 30 minutes drive from San Francisco, is the place where people will not need to build their own facilities. They will come to the BEAM campus and that will exist. So we look at folks that require CapEx. We've invested in companies like Crocos Bio, which is a plant cell culture company. We invest in companies like Ruby Bio that's turning agricultural side streams into a whole platform for food ingredients and other chemicals that are produced naturally. So what we look at is the founding teams and the teams that understand that if they are a company, they're not an academia project. They have to move faster. They have to work on initiatives that are validated, that they have validated demand for those into the market, that demand is strongly validated. LOIs were maybe sufficient 5 or 6 years ago, but today you need offtake agreements, signed contract. You need to talk to those customers to really understand that there's a strong pull. So I would say that I don't think that the appetite has changed. We're seeing concepts that are lighter on CapEx or harder on CapEx, but there's an absolute mind shift change where teams that are obsessed about the coolness of their science are just not getting the chance. They are being run over by teams that are driven commercially, that see science as a tool.
Amazing. Incredible. And again, the engagement with the customer, the buyer earlier on is definitely been, I see across the board, people are talking commercial conversations much earlier on. What else has been surprising to you being an investor now? What else wish you would have known as a founder when you look at investors?
Yeah.
Because we do talk about a lot of shit. I mean, honestly, investors, what do they do? Come on, they have no understanding of the actual science or the business. They went, they maybe went to a great business school, but it's like, this is not SaaS, right? It's a whole different animal.
I want to talk about some of the initial insight that I've learned about joining gener8tor. gener8tor launched in 2012 when 2 VC attorneys based in the Midwest realize that there are startups that exist outside of Silicon Valley, outside of New York, Boston, LA. They do exist, and there are smart people in each and every community, but the opportunities are not equally distributed. And that was the initial DNA, and that's still in the DNA of gener8tor, to look at various regions everywhere in the world, in India, in Saudi Arabia, in Japan, all across the US. We backed ag tech related companies in 33 states across the US, showing that smart people, innovation, great universities, amazing team exists in places like Central Valley, in places like Alabama, Arkansas, in Alaska. It's just that you have to bring those ecosystems closer to the opportunities that exist in these major hubs. So that was for me mind-blowing because, I immigrated from Serbia to San Francisco, and being here for the past 7 years, my thinking about startups and the bubble that I was drawn was pretty kind of San Francisco and Silicon Valley bias. So knowing that each and every one of you building out there in India, Philippines, the world has changed. You have opportunities and look for them. You're not in a worse place building elsewhere. You just have to partner with the right people that will update you to what's latest in some of these leading hubs. And for your question around what's different on this side of the table, especially around like what we used to, and I dare to say bitch as a founders when we were not happy with due diligence is moving slow, getting so many no's. I think one thing that as founders, when you're in that process, and that process is not easy, you're like energized, maybe a little bit nervous. As the process takes a little bit more time, you're more nervous. I think you kind of disconnect from the reality of the complexity that happens in the background on our side of the table, investor side of the table, around how many yeses need to happen so that we can cut you a check. You usually get to talk to us. We tell you, hey, we have a meeting next week. We'll bring this up next week and I'll get back to you. But maybe next week, a person that was supposed to be in that meeting doesn't show up, and that gets to move to another meeting. So like there's a lot of moving parts on our side of the table that quite often make you think, oh my God, like what's happening? They didn't get back to me. So that kind of a patience and understanding, it's hard because, you want to complete that fundraising, you want to get back to building, but there are way more things that happen in the background than you have to think and you can imagine that lead us into saying yes. And there are two ways to go about it. A wrong way is to be that annoying person that's like, hey, like you told me you're going to get back to me. Like, look, guys, we have way more startups than we can make investments. If you are that person, that annoying person, there's a good chance that you can annoy me to a point that I'm just going to like look elsewhere and chat with a founder that I feel like there's more chemistry, that the conversation is more easygoing. The right way to follow up with an investor is like keep delighting us with news. Like if we talked this week and you told me that you're going to have a first pilot run in 2 weeks, when you follow up with me in 2 weeks, don't like check in and follow up on me. Like tell me about that pilot. Tell me how awesome it was. And if you keep being that awesome person, trust me, investors will want to associate themselves with you. And do know that in the psychology of investors, it's in our minds that we want to associate ourselves with the best founders, with the best people, with the best teams. And we want to hunt for you. We want to, we want to make sure that you don't leave us and go to some other investor and for us to lose that opportunity. If you are the annoying person, I'm sorry. If you keep doing that enough, that will create a counter effect.
Yeah, tell you, I hate, and right now, oh gosh, sorry, I'm gonna just vent to my friend Darko, and our listeners are gonna listen, but I'm getting so much crap right now from LinkedIn on people just following up or just pushing us to the top, like just stop.
And actually, you're going into spam, guys. If you don't know me and you send me this big message and you join a deck and a link of a deck there, and I'll see it, I'll probably won't respond. And then if you keep aggressively following up, you're just going to be marked as spam. And that's a wrong way to do it. And there are so many right way to do it. If you see me and Alex, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, see Alex, Alex, and you can ask Alex, hey Alex, do you mind reaching out to Darko on my behalf? Like there's so many like right ways to get in front of an investor that's just not ending up in a spam hide folder.
And well, I'll add what's disturbing. By the way, I felt like just because I have a lot going on, I was like, okay, maybe I can use some of these AI tools to do like. And I started getting some of these messages myself, and like, oh gosh, I really don't want to do this to from my friends, like, and I got like, this Cleveland AI generated message from a friend, and I'm like, oh my God, am I doing this? Like, I gotta figure this out because we have to be very careful. We have to super careful right now because it's so easy to create content or create messaging. And what I think, Darko, you're saying is, if your messaging is about positive updates, about good things happening in your life that you want to share with people, great. But if it's about no message should be, hey, why did you not answer? AKA, just bring us to the top. Like if you say, and Dark, just to add to that, a lot of the AI, unfortunately, if you ask them to create sequence, that's exactly what they recommend you to do because it's been trained on really bad recommendations. It's like, just every 3 days, just send him another message. He'll ultimately realize that he missed to answer you. Like, trust me, we have plenty to do. Nobody is not busy. Trust me.
Look, guys, I've landed in San Francisco in 2019. Didn't know anybody here. I realized I can do two things. In the real world, I can do a lot of meetups. That's not that hard. There's a lot of meetups and events in San Francisco. On the online world, I can build in public and post about my startup on LinkedIn. So what I started doing at some point when we had samples of our world's first bee-free honey, I started going to restaurants, meeting chefs and filming them when they taste our product. I would be meeting Alex and other people at World Agri-Tech and having them try the honey and asking them if they're willing to do a testimonial. It's so easy. Just be genuine. Just build in public. Just be yourself. Just put your authentic self out there, and you would be amazed how the algorithm connects you with the right people. Because if you know Alex and Alex comments on your video, and I saw that and I like that, that keeps showing up in my feed, even when we're not connected. So there's, LinkedIn rewards authenticity. If you continue being authentic, you will build your audience and people will be reaching out to you. And there's no better way to land an investment than investor proactively sourcing you versus you kind of pulling investors by their sleeves, because that's what most companies do every single day. Most companies send these big messages in my inboxes and they reach out without context. But the right people, they're authentic. They have I see them and I reach out to them, or my friends and my network bring my attention to them, or maybe multiple touch points happen at the same time.
Yeah. Good session. Yeah. Darko, take us now, just as we close up, what's coming up right now? Just tell us, hey, this is what's around the corner. This is who I want to speak with. If you want to win, these are the traits I'm looking for at the moment. This is when we make decisions. This is how we make decisions. Take us through the whole process of what the next couple of months looks like for our listeners.
Each and every one of you building in the agri-food tech space, sustainability, clean tech, anything that touches agriculture and food. And that can be agriculture as a starting point that creates fuels or materials. The output doesn't have to be the food or agricultural product, but agriculture being part of the process counts. If you are building in this space around the world, I want you to go to gener8tor.com website, and I want you to look at various programs that we have that have various conditions lined out there. And I want you to apply for those programs. I want you to fill out the application. I want you to schedule office hours with various staff that are running those programs. If your solution is specifically focused around turning agricultural waste, byproducts, side stream into value, and you are considering California to be one of the regions where you want to strategically scale up. We're not looking for you to leave your existing regions. We're not looking for you to move permanently. But if you see value in Central Valley feedstocks in collaboration with BEAM Circular around the campus that's being built, I want you to reach out to me on LinkedIn or book office hours through Gener8tor website, or put an application in through Gener8tor website, and you will find the BEAM Circular Accelerator section, or reach out to Alex to ask for an introduction, or anyone that you see that I'm connected on LinkedIn.
And absolutely. And I guess here's just a few objections that come to mind. I'm just curious, just as if I'm putting myself in the shoes of those individuals, right? First thing is gosh, California is really expensive, and I'm going to just get destroyed real fast. Say I'm a founder in say in Eastern Europe, and you're thinking, move to California. I'm how the heck am I gonna do this? Even say with $100,000, I'm not gonna be able to make it, right?
Of course, Alex.
Yeah, how would you address that? That's a kind of fear I have.
It's a fantastic question, Alex. Specifically, the program that I'm running here in California is a 12-week program. 9 weeks are done over Zoom and virtual, and 3 weeks are in person. And next to that, within Gener8tor, we have a special support for, we call it soft landing pad companies. Those are the companies, for example, that are looking to potentially relocate on a longer term basis and come to the US. We are there to help them. But for this specific program in California, we are requiring you to be here 3 weeks.
Okay. So the other thing that comes to mind, I spent a lot of time in South Korea, in the Netherlands. That's where I do a lot of focus. And because of the incentives from the government to I'm a little surprised. Are you saying that there's real incentives at the government level, in the regional level, of opening businesses in Central Valley that we might not be aware of?
Absolutely. There are many counties and regions in California that are not, as technologically advanced as, let's say, San Francisco. And since a lot of these regions sit on the wealth and abundance of agriculture, there are incentives of creating high-paying jobs. And there are counties like San Joaquin County or Merced County or Stanislaus County that are looking to partner with companies and support them, and quite often support them with additional capital for their major projects that involve bringing jobs into those communities, specifically jobs that are high-paying jobs, because most of the jobs in the agricultural counties in California are agriculture. And these counties are investing in scientific and technological projects that will bring high-paying jobs. And some of the funding for our programs here with BEAM Circular come from those programs as well.
And then lastly, how do you see the next step? So you have a demo day. What's the next level of support that you're seeing? You know, we know obviously like we have both relationship with like SOS Ventures and IndieBio and others. There's YC. Like, how do you see the next step for your alumni and like what the benefit of that?
Our alumni receive continued support. We are proud of our programs at gener8tor. We have over 80 MPS score out of 100 for our program. I'll just say that for our past cohort, all 5 out of 5 companies landed more customers within the program, and
Wow.
3 out of 5 secured funding within the 12-week program. So we are proud of our network and the ecosystem. I also want people to put BEAM Circular events on their radar next to the SOSV, next to the agri-tech, food tech, and climate week events, because BEAM organizes 2 events a year, BioCirca and BioCatalyst. And those are in the Central Valley, just 1 hour and 30 minutes drive from San Francisco. So I want you to look at those other events than the usual suspects in the food agri-tech week. And I want you to follow me on LinkedIn. I want you to reach out. I want you to book office hours with me and chat. Come to my universe. I'll tell you more about these programs, about gener8tor and BEAM Circular, and I'll help you. If nothing else, as a former recent founder, now turned investor, and in those half an hours, I'll give you my wisdom and feedback on your concept.
Yeah, and I think this is a really great, perfect way to end, because I've found one of the things that Darko is 100% is a soul that gives. We need more individuals like this. I was very worried, like Darko, when you exited from MeliBio, that, my gosh, is he going to start selling AI? I was like, oh, please, for God's sakes, no. Like, I just pray that good people are not going to leave our industry and they're just lifers. Because it's very hard. Like, the last couple of years have been challenging. And it's like, we're so glad that people like you are in the position you're in. And excited, very excited to have our listeners take part and, enjoy the benefits of you being in this position.
Thank you for having me, Alex. And thank you for all of you out there who are building in these industries and making the world a better place while, providing food and turning agriculture into something awesome.
When is it? Just give us the last question. When is the deadline? Just so we get a sense of timelines.
So our next cohort will be BEAM Circular Accelerator 2027, starting in the winter. We'll be selecting startups after the new year, and the program will start in February or March.
So people should have like a few months to like understand if they're fit, have conversations with you, have initial screening.
Yeah. However, if you look at our gener8tor website, you'll see some of the programs that you can apply sooner.
Awesome, my friend. Beautiful. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
One more thing. Don't close this episode yet. If you got value from this conversation, here's what I need from you. A 5-star rating, 1 comment, 20 seconds of your time. That's the deal. A 5-star rating means more founders find this content, and every time a founder raises, all boats are elevated. Every week, I pick 1 random comment and send that person a complimentary copy of Investment Climate, the book. 50 sales playbooks from founders who actually raise money during the fundraising winter. Real strategies, real closes, real numbers, not theory. So if you want a copy, comment below, and if you haven't followed the show yet, do that too. And if there's a guest you want us to bring on the show, just drop us a note or send us an email. We'll read each and every one. Until then, keep on raising.